Hello. So last time we looked at Joshua in the Battle of Jericho. After Joshua got the people into the promised land, he served as a judge. And a judge is someone who is a little bit like a king in that he leads the people, a little bit like a general in that he's a soldier and he's the top soldier. But most importantly, a judge is someone who makes sure that the newly freed Hebrews follow the law of Moses, hence judge. Now, it's not as strict or as tight a judge as we would think of today. It was much more loose, but nonetheless, the judges were the chief leaders of the Hebrews for 400 years, which is a really long time. And some of these judges were very, very famous and popular. Joshua is the first one. Another one is Gideon, and he is a young man who is called by God to defeat the Midianites, and he is most famous for defeating the Midianites with only 300 Hebrews, and he defeats a whole army. He does this with some courage, with God's help, and with some trickery too. Unfortunately, Gideon's a bit of a mixed bag. He's a bit of a tool as a person, and toward the end of his life, he starts actually engaging in idolatry. But he is someone who would have had this reputation for someone, again, like Daniel, someone who was this great military leader who could free the people. So yet again, like, if only we had another Joshua, if only we had another Gideon, would have been a thought for men like Josh and Daniel. We have another judge coming up. Toward the end of the time when the judges reigned, we have a man named Samson. Now, Samson is someone who is a little bit like the Hercules of the Jewish people. He's very strong, very, very strong. One time he actually picks up the city gates, which are these giant iron bars, and he just carries them off. But unfortunately, he is even more of a mixed bag than Gideon. He's very strong, but he also has a lot of personal flaws. And at one point, he actually betrays God and his people, and he loses all his strength, and he is taken into captivity by the Philistines. But what happens there? Once he's with the Philistines, his strength starts to come back, and he asks to be put between two pillars at a temple. This is a pagan temple, the god Dagon. So there are two pillars, and Samson asks if he can stand between them. And what he does, as he stands between them, he's regained his strength. He pushes. And what do you think happens to the two walls? What do you think? Do you think they stay there? They come tumbling down. So at the beginning of the book of Judges, we have Joshua fighting the Battle of Jericho where the walls come down. And at the end of the book of Judges, we have Samson, a much worse character, but nonetheless a very powerful man. And he makes the temple walls of the pagan god Dagon come tumbling down. So he is an incredibly strong man. He's powerfully used by God. Ultimately not a great guy, but nonetheless, to someone like Rosh and to Daniel, someone very, very powerful, someone they want to come back and fight for the people of Israel.